Thanks, everybody, members of the Academy. My name is Akshay Kale. I'm from a startup in Markham called Elasticare, and we are a remote cardiac monitoring platform. Why healthcare? We believe it to be a multi-trillion-dollar market. Why cardiac care? Simply put, it's the world's biggest killer. 17 million people a year die. 1/3 of those are people under the age of 70, so it's not just people who are older. And a lot of it's because they don't get access to it. They don't get access to diagnostics and they don't get access to care. And so we think we can do better than the existing method of doing things, and today I'm going to tell you why. So here's a couple of ways to just encapsulate the problems here. Intermittent vital signs monitoring, delays in kind of a diagnostic and treatment. What does that mean? It just means that waiting to get access to something because you're afraid to go, it's too far away, you got to wait in lines. Those are massive problems. Look, in Canada, we've got a great healthcare system. We still wait. Imagine what it's like for the rest of the world. It's really bad. So what can we do on a worldwide basis? Well, let's see if we can cut the problems off a little bit early by detecting them, getting medical grade information to the doctors. So we're not a consumer device. It's medical grade, vetted by the FDA. And finally, we want to be able to just take all the burden away from the way things are analyzed right now and use machine learning and artificial intelligence to expedite the process. The current method of doing things, and I've been asked about this, what's your biggest competition? I will show you. It is this. It is people who sit there every single day, the cardiac techs, with a highlighter and a phone book worth of ECG signals, and look at this. This is our competition right here. It is cheap, it is FDA approved, it is lightweight, you can drop it. You don't ever need to charge it. However, it's going to take you all day. So, this is our solution. And we've managed to be able to take about $40,000 worth of equipment that takes about 44 pounds of weight to carry around, and we've managed to put it into this. This is how big it is. It's taken 3 years of R&D to get it this far. This is our battery. This is our PCB. It is more densely packed than what you have in your phone. And our harness, it is defib proof. Means that even if someone needs to get shocked, all of it's going to go to the heart. Okay? This is all custom manufactured. So yes, thank you for asking me to pitch to you later on. I'm going to talk about our target markets, post-acute care, anyone who's actually in need of a diagnostic care, anyone who's in need of getting events, for example, signified. If you've gone home with it, you need to be monitored for 3 or 4 days. You don't need to be stuck in a hospital. Go to the bed that is most comfortable. Home. Get out of the beds. Nurses, nurse practitioners, hospitals love this because you're not taking up a bed in the hospital anymore. You're going home. And so we want to save the taxpayer money as well. And finally, healthcare practitioners love this because we're doing a few things that our competition are not. In fact, our competition are doing a couple of these things. We're doing all of them. We're a medical grade device, IoT, AI, portable, OPP. Like everything is in there at this point. Like we've done a lot. It's taken a lot of R&D to be able to get here. It's the world's smallest 12-lead ECG device at this point. And third-party integration is really important for us. This is just one of the devices that we've decided to manufacture, but we want to partner with others to be able to ingest that data and to be able to analyze it for doctors and give them the metrics that they actually want. And so what is our motto? We want to be the most patient and practitioner-focused healthcare service. And we want to be within 1 hour of access to 80% of our target market population. Okay? So I'm just going to basically let the video do the demo over here. That's what our device looks like. As you can see, it's very easy to attach. And instead of carrying around 4 or 5 different devices on one of those poles and walking around all day in a hospital, this is how you attach it on you. Those things are also medical grade. All of the materials all there are all vetted by the FDA, and we're going to be getting our clearance in Q3. This is how you attach it. In total, it takes about 5 minutes to attach this entire device onto you. Now, in addition to just ECG, it also measures your skin temperature and respiration. Now, why are those things important? Because doctors like to talk about things like disease clusters, things that occur together. They also want to know when things happened. Did it happen when you were standing up? Did it happen when you were walking around? Did it happen when you were sleeping? Well, we've thought about those things and we decided, you know what? We're going to also look at your posture. We're going to also find out when things happen when you were walking, when you were running, when you are lying down on your left side or your right side, and we're going to put it into a really beautiful to understand and easy to comprehend report. Because the average time for understanding now of these reports takes anywhere between a half an hour to 90 minutes. And that's why the average cardiac tech will look at something that's this big and they're never going to get through it. There's that much information to analyze. And that's why I really bring this out to be able to demonstrate how far away we actually are in terms of what people can actually use in the world. So you can see our model over here is being able to just sit down. It'll still analyze. It's incredibly comfortable. And you're also noticing in terms of the accelerometer as you move around, it'll show you your specific movement. So it's not just about posture. It'll also tell you how much you actually moved. Was it a violent kind of a jerking motion? Now from an old age perspective too, here's another target market. They'll want to know, have you been in bed for too long? Sepsis, bed sores, these are also big kind of, again, disease clusters. So this is not just for that market. So our target addressable market is not just saying, you know, only the initial cardiac care. It's also for long-term care facilities. Why? A lot of the world's population is aging. Canada, Japan, China, massive markets for us. Okay, so that's how our interface actually works. And finally, I want to have a quick look at our report. So the average report, like I mentioned, kind of a phone book thick. Well, we think we can do better than that. Why don't we take that and tell you where to look in the specific report by saying color-coded codes on when something went above a threshold, when it was below, so you can figure out as a practitioner where to hone in. So instead of looking at a report for 60 minutes as a cardiologist, you can take a 5-minute look at this, get through those patients, and as they say in the military, you should prioritize and execute. You don't have 17 million beds a year for people around the world. You've got to be able to prioritize and give people the standard of care that they actually need on a prioritized basis. So if you're going to ask me what the value proposition is there for doctors, free up beds, prioritize and execute. That's basically kind of our value prop that we're offering. It runs through either a mobile app where the telemetry is sent to the mobile app, or there's a relay device that's just over this big. They'll send it off to the cloud. That's my pitch. That's my day. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thank you, Akshay. That's great. We're going to throw it up to the judges to ask questions. Whoever wants to go first. Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was great. What is your go-to-market strategy?
So right now our go-to-market strategy is going to be to be able to get to the FDA clearance first. We could take it out as a non-medical device, but we've decided to actually really make it sustainable for the worldwide market to get the FDA clearance first. And we're looking to get that in Q3. And then basically to work with hospital groups and practitioners to be able to roll it out. So rather than trying to go up really high in terms of the procurement chain with government and, you know, it's too hard to penetrate. We're seeing if we can go lower down in the consumption chain with nurses, nurse practitioners, GPs, local diagnostic clinics, because the distribution framework is everything for our success to be able to get market penetration at this point. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, Falun, go ahead.
What's your business model?
So our business model right now is not to be able to monetize this based on outright hardware sale. We want to do this as a service. So to be able to monetize quality of reports in terms of customization of them, and also to be able to set up things like a different distribution framework and alignment in, for example, a campus setting. So a lot of it's just going to be based on as kind of a use. So you could spend basically a couple of bucks a day, and given the backlog of the work, I'm not really worried about, well, this will see usage or not. So for a few bucks a day, we'll still end up making very, very decent gross margins on this. And at the end of the day, we're looking for recurring revenue. We're not looking for hardware sales.
Who's paying?
So who's paying, sorry?
Yeah.
So we can get a diff rate either directly. So the international markets are actually more open to being directly paying out of pocket. Insurance companies are actually quite happy to do this because the data that they'll get from this will allow them to build risk models. Right, pharmaceuticals are also interested. We just actually had a conversation with Bayer yesterday where they're interested in the data that they're getting for some of the field studies. So there's already additional sources of revenue to be able to work from that. So from pharmaceuticals to the hospitals as well. Does that answer your question?
Christoph?
I actually had the same question. So.
Okay, perfect. Alex?
What is your risk in terms of competitions? You see that it's easy for other people to do exactly the same?
You know what? This is a question I get asked all the time, and thank you for asking it. Competition is always going to be there. I think the trick for us is to figure out a couple of things. One is to get a really solid distribution model. The second is, try and make it as a service rather than trying to do outright hardware sales. A lot of our competition has gone for outright hardware sales without the real-time analysis, without the intelligence behind it, and without having kind of the service model in place. or they're so small that they don't give this full so-called high-resolution picture of the heart. You do need to have all these kind of cables connected to give you a full kind of picture of what's going on. So our competition is maybe doing one, maybe two of these things, but they're not doing all 4 or 5. And that's what, we believe once you get in with us, we can erect sufficient moats. But the barriers to also doing this are sufficiently high because if it's an FDA product. It's not an easy thing to kind of do.
By all means, please.
What's the quality control around both the hardware and the software?
Beautiful question. The fact that we're going for the FDA already gives us a great sign-off because it's an incredibly long, laborious, and difficult process. So the fact that we will be FDA certified as a Class 2 medical device is already just eliminates a whole bunch of our competition. Everything has to be manufactured in 2 environments. ISO 13485, which is a quality control mechanism for medical devices, as well as 9001, for which we're already certified. And everything's stored in HIPAA, PHIPAA kind of compliant data centers as well. Cybersecurity is something we obviously take very seriously. So ISO 27001 to 18, as well as PCI and SOC as well.
And can you get insurance for this sort of thing from a liability perspective?
Sorry?
Like liability? How do you view the liability around something like this if a device ends up becoming faulty?
So again, a lot of that comes out to just FDA regulations, and there's protocols on how you deal with that. So you have to recall something. But again, that's why you have to go through that process. Consumer grade devices, you don't want doctors using that because if someone gets hurt, you make a decision on unreliable data. Like one of these things ends up being bad, someone dies, the liability is a lot higher there. So the fact that we have to jump through these hoops with the FDA and come up with these protocols for safety already make sure that we're being honest with ourselves. And that's, it makes patients and practitioners feel better about using it.
Perfect. That's all the time we have. Thank you very much, Akshay.
Thank you for your questions. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Do you want to just